You don't owe them a warning. You don't owe them an explanation. If they drained your peace, disrespected your worth, or treated your presence like a convenience, cut them off. Not loudly, silently. And watch how your silence speaks louder than any scream ever could. Ladies, 2025 isn't the year of second chances. It's the year of boundaries. It's not revenge. It's not bitterness. It's healing. Sometimes, your greatest comeback is no announcement, just absence. When someone crosses your line once, they test you. When they do it twice, they're training you. But when you stay silent and leave, you teach them. Your energy is not free. And the sooner you understand that, the more unstoppable you become. Every time you answer a text from someone who doesn't respect you, every time you show up for someone who would never do the same for you, you are spending a currency that you can never earn back. Your energy, your presence, your peace. Think about it. You wouldn't hand out your credit card to someone who's reckless with money, right? Then why do we hand out access to our soul, our thoughts, our time to people who constantly withdraw but never deposit? In 2025, you must treat your energy like it's the most expensive luxury in the room. Because it is. Let me ask you this. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt drained? Like the air got heavy? That's not your imagination. That's your body and your spirit telling you, this place, this person is too expensive for my peace. We're so used to normalizing emotional debt that we forget not everyone should be allowed near our peace. And it starts with who you let disturb your vibe. Imagine this. You've had a long week. You're tired, maybe a little heartbroken, maybe carrying the weight of your job, your dreams, your family, your own expectations. Then you finally sit down to rest. And right at that moment, someone who only calls you when they need something sends a message. And you pick up, you engage, you entertain, you drain. And what do you get in return? Silence, disrespect, or worse, more weight. You just paid in full, with your spirit. And for what? For someone who sees you as a pit stop, not a destination? Your energy is your most sacred currency. You're not a vending machine for comfort. You're not a therapist for people who disappear when you need help. You're not an emotional charger for the lazy and the inconsistent. You're human. And humans break when they're constantly pouring and never receiving. Have you noticed how you light up when you're around people who see your worth? How your laugh feels fuller, your thoughts clearer, your posture taller? That's what it feels like when your energy is matched. You're not being used. You're being seen. And that right there is priceless. In your daily life, start observing where your energy goes. That friend who only calls when they're bored. That colleague who dumps their stress on you like you're a trash can. That partner who drains you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and still expects you to smile. Number. That's not love. That's leeching. Picture a woman waking up at 6 a.m. to chase her dreams. Working 2 jobs, studying late into the night, healing from heartbreak in silence. Smiling at the world while battling storms in private. That woman cannot afford to waste her energy on people who make her question her worth. That woman is you. You are valuable, not available. You have to stop offering your peace as a sacrifice to people who don't even say thank you. Stop watering dead plants and wondering why they never bloom. Some people are not your garden, they're your drought. And your energy? It's not theirs to waste. It's your power, your aura, your fire. Not everyone should be close enough to feel its warmth. So when someone constantly leaves you feeling empty, when conversations feel like battles, when being around someone feels like work, listen to that. That's your body telling you, this is too expensive, we can't afford this anymore. And when you honor that voice, you stop being a people pleaser and start being a self-protector. Your energy is not free. And starting now, you charge accordingly. Silence is your new superpower. Not because you're weak, not because you don't have words, but because you finally realized not everything deserves your voice. Not every insult requires a clap back. Not every betrayal needs a speech. And not every goodbye needs a ceremony. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing and let your silence do the talking. Think of silence like a mirror. It reflects back everything people have projected onto you. When someone mistreats you and you stop reacting, that silence shows them exactly who they are. When they don't get the reaction they're fishing for, they're forced to sit with the echo of their own behavior. And that echo is louder than any words you could have spoken. We've been taught that speaking up is strength, and yes, sometimes it is. But what they don't teach you is that silence can cut deeper than any argument. That walking away without a word can haunt someone longer than shouting ever could. Silence isn't empty. It's loaded. It carries the weight of all the things you could have said, but chose not to. And that's power. You know those people who try to provoke you just to get a reaction? They want your energy, your attention, your words. Because once you speak, they get control. They twist your emotions, manipulate your message, make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. But when you stay silent, they lose their weapon. You disarm them completely. Think of the woman sitting at dinner with a man who constantly interrupts her, talks over her, mocks her ambitions. One day, she doesn't fight back. She doesn't argue. She doesn't try to prove her worth. She just sits still, finishes her food, and never returns his call. That's silence. That's her freedom. That's her finally realizing she owes no one a debate about her value. Or the girl who's tired of fake friends, the kind who only show up when it's convenient, the kind who gossip behind her back and smile in her face. Instead of confronting each one, she just stops calling. Stops texting, stops explaining. Her silence becomes a boundary. And suddenly the same people who ignore her presence feel her absence like a punch. Silence is not retreat. It's restraint. It's wisdom dressed in elegance. Because people will test you, push you, try to provoke the fire inside you. But when you've mastered yourself enough to remain calm, to not feed into the drama you've won, you're no longer reacting, you're choosing. And that choice is power. There's a woman sitting in her car after being disrespected by a coworker. For the third time, she doesn't storm into HR, she doesn't explode. She smiles, updates her resume that night, and lands a better job 2 weeks later. She never says a word. But her growth is the loudest thing in the room. People don't expect you to go silent. They expect drama. They expect tears. They expect fights. But when you go quiet, when you move in silence, when you exit without warning, it shakes them. It forces them to look inward. It forces them to question, did I push too far? And in that questioning, you gain your power back. Because while they're trying to figure out what went wrong, you're already building, healing, evolving, moving on. You're no longer stuck in cycles of explanation and exhaustion. You're done wasting breath on people committed to misunderstanding you. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not passive, you're precise. Silence is your superpower because it protects your peace, preserves your dignity, and elevates your worth without ever raising your voice. Closure is a lie. It's the fairy tale ending we chase when someone breaks us and walks away. It's the illusion we hold on to, thinking if we could just have one more conversation, one final explanation, one perfect goodbye, we'll be able to heal. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The people who hurt you will rarely give you the closure you deserve. Because closure is not something they give you. It's something you create on your own, in the quiet aftermath of chaos. You sit there, staring at your phone, replaying the last conversation, wondering what you missed, what you could have said differently. You scroll back through messages like a detective, searching for clues in a mystery you didn't even know you were part of. But deep down you already know. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just didn't care enough to stay. And that hurts more than any goodbye ever could. You think closure is going to be a moment of honesty. Like they'll finally come back and say, I was wrong. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. But most of the time, they don't. They move on like you were a chapter, not the whole book. And you're left sitting with pages full of questions that may never get answers. That's where your strength is born, not in getting closure from them, but in realizing you never needed it to begin with. There's a woman who waited for months for a man to return just to explain why he ghosted her. She rehearsed every word she would say, every emotion she held in, but he never came back. And one morning, she woke up and made peace with never knowing. That day, she didn't get closure, she became it. She stopped chasing explanations and started chasing herself. That's when her life began again. Closure is not a conversation, it's a decision. It's you choosing to stop bleeding for someone who never even apologized for the wound. It's looking in the mirror and saying, I deserve more, even when they never said you mattered. It's walking away not because everything is clear, but because you're done being confused. If they wanted to, they would. 6 words that will save you years of confusion, heartbreak, and disappointment. Because when someone cares truly, deeply cares, they show up. Not with excuses, not with half-hearted efforts, but with presence, consistency, and clarity. Love doesn't come with conditions. Loyalty doesn't need reminders. And respect never needs to be begged for. You don't have to remind someone to text you if they're thinking about you. You don't have to ask someone twice to make time for you if they want you in their life. When someone values you, they don't make you question it. Their actions align with their words. They don't leave you reading between the lines. They write the story with you, not around you. There's a woman who texts a man every morning, checking in, sending positivity, showing effort. Days go by, and the replies get colder, shorter, emptier. She tells herself, maybe he's just busy. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe I need to try harder. But the truth is, if he wanted to call, if he wanted to see her, he would have made it happen. If he wanted to love her right, he would have already started. Stop making excuses for someone else's lack of effort. Life gets busy, yes, but no one is too busy for someone they truly care about. We make time for what matters, always. You've seen people text back during meetings. You've seen people fly across countries for love. So when someone tells you, I'm just not ready, or I'm figuring things out, what they really mean is, you're not a priority right now. And that's a bitter pill, but it's also your freedom. You don't have to chase people who are walking away. You don't have to beg someone to stay who's already made up their mind to leave. When people want you in their life, they don't make it complicated. They don't gaslight you into thinking your expectations are too high. Wanting effort is not asking for too much, it's asking for the bare minimum. There's a mother who sacrificed everything for her son. She worked double shifts, put his needs above hers, and dreamed of the day he'd come home and say, thank you. But he grew distant, took her for granted, and never once picked up the phone. One day, she stopped calling, stopped chasing, stopped waiting, because she realized if he truly appreciated her, if he truly understood her worth, he would have shown her. And he didn't. You don't have to force yourself into the lives of people who act like you're optional. You're not a placeholder, you're not a convenience. You're not the background character in someone else's story. You are the whole damn book. And the people meant for you will read every page with awe, not skim through when it suits them. There's a man who says he loves her, but only behind closed doors. Never in public. Never with consistency. She held on thinking love was enough. But one day she realized, if he truly loved me, he'd be proud to show me off, not hide me away. That realization broke her, but it also rebuilt her. When someone says they care but their actions don't match it, believe the actions. When someone promises to change but never does believe the pattern, if they wanted to respect you, they would. If they wanted to stay, they would. If they wanted to make you feel seen, heard, and valued, they absolutely would. Protect your comeback season like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. This is not just a chapter in your story. This is the chapter. The one where you rise. The one where you build in silence, grow in shadows, and emerge untouchable. A girl had friends she constantly supported through breakups, depression, heartbreak, and every meltdown in between. She was their shoulder, their call at 2 a.m., their unpaid therapist. But the moment she needed them, silence, excuses, disappearing acts. That was a wake-up call. Because if they wanted to return the love she gave so freely, they would have, and they didn't. There's a woman who was cheated on, left broken, questioned her worth. Everyone whispered behind her back, calling her weak, saying she'd never recover. But instead of explaining herself, she disappeared. She hit the gym, she started journaling. She started waking up at 5 a.m., walking in silence, meditating, building a brand, learning to love herself again. 6 months later, she didn't just get back on her feet, she walked into rooms and owned them. Her glow wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. People asked, what changed? And she smiled and said, everything I used to beg for, I now give myself. That's what it means to protect your comeback season. You stop oversharing with people who secretly hope you fail. You stop inviting energy that drains your spirit. You stop breaking your silence for those who didn't care when you were silent and suffering. You become selective, strategic, sacred. There's a guy who was laughed at for starting a business from his tiny bedroom. Family doubted him. Friends mocked him. He was told to be realistic, to settle, to give up. But he chose isolation over imitation. He chose sacrifice over shortcuts. He spent nights studying while others partied. He skipped dinners, ignored gossip, and stayed obsessed with his vision. Today, he doesn't need validation, he's got results. He didn't just make a comeback, he rewrote his legacy. That's what happens when you guard your growth, like it's gold. People think protecting your peace is selfish. Let them think that you're not selfish, you're focused, you're not cold, you're healing, you're not distant, you're building. You're not arrogant, you're aware. Aware that your future demands a version of you that's no longer easily distracted, manipulated, or broken. A version of you that walks away without noise, but with power. There's a girl who used to share everything online, every win, every tear, every plan, but the likes didn't heal her. The attention didn't fulfill her. So she went quiet. People asked, where did she go? And the truth is she went inside. She began the real work. The unglamorous, unfiltered, uncomfortable work. Now she moves different. Speaks less. Knows more. Glows naturally. That's the comeback season in motion. It doesn't scream, it radiates. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Let the people who hurt you wonder. Let the ones who left feel your absence. Let the ones who doubted you watch in silence. Your comeback isn't for their entertainment, it's for your evolution. Stop explaining your growth to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop shrinking for people who never clapped for you anyway. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need closure to move. You don't need company to rebuild. Every gym session, every journal entry, every time you said no, when your old self would have said yes, that's you protecting your comeback. Every time you refused to reply to the text that would have reopened a wound that's growth. Every late night working on your dream, when no one clapped, no one watched, that's the foundation of something unstoppable. This season isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. So guard it like treasure. Water it like roots. Build it like a kingdom. Because once you return stronger, wiser, calmer, they won't know what hit them. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. You've cooked too many meals with your bare hands, starved in silence, and fed people who only came to eat but never to help clean the mess. You've poured love into cups that never poured back. You've given access to people who only knew how to take, never how to value. And the truth is, the moment you realize your worth, you start checking who's been dining at your table without bringing anything but drama, jealousy, and crumbs of fake support. There's a woman who gave everything to her circle. She supported their dreams, celebrated their wins, and clapped even when her own hands were trembling with pain. But when it was her turn to shine, her turn to be supported, suddenly everyone was too busy. Her wins were met with silence. Her voice was met with resistance. That's when she realized, not everyone who smiles with you breaks bread with a clean heart. Some only stay close to monitor your progress, not to genuinely witness your success. So, she did the bravest thing. She started shrinking her circle without explanation. People get offended when you start setting boundaries, especially the ones who are benefiting from your lack of them. But boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with locks. And the key, that's earned. Just because someone's been in your life for years doesn't mean they deserve lifetime access. Loyalty isn't measured by time. It's measured by presence, by energy, by intention. Ask yourself, who brings peace when they enter the room? And who brings chaos? There's a man who kept giving second chances to the same group of friends. They mocked his dreams, laughed behind his back, but he held on out of loyalty. Until one day, he had a breakthrough, not just in his business but in his spirit. He realized that staying loyal to people who were disloyal to his vision was the anchor holding him back. So, he changed the guest list to his life. And when he did, the blessings started pouring in. Because when you remove the wrong people, the right opportunities find space. Your table is sacred. It's not for freeloaders. It's not for critics who only show up when it benefits them. It's not for users who wear the mask of friends. Protect it like your peace depends on it. Because it does. Just like you don't let just anyone into your home, don't let just anyone into your mental space, your emotional sanctuary. Access to you is a privilege, not a birthright. There's a girl who always dimmed her light to keep others comfortable. She downplayed her achievements so her friends wouldn't feel insecure. She kept quiet when her heart wanted to roar. And then one day, she woke up and said, "Why am I shrinking for people who would never expand for me?" She decided her light wasn't meant to be hidden, it was meant to shine. And the ones who truly belonged at her table clapped even when she was louder, brighter, stronger. You owe no one an explanation for protecting your energy. You don't have to justify why someone no longer has access to your presence. If they brought gossip, jealousy, betrayal, or manipulation to your space, they already gave you the reason. You just have to honor it. Think about a garden. You don't just let anyone walk through it with muddy boots. You care for it. You water it. You weed out what no longer grows. Same with your spirit. Some people are not meant to grow with you. They were just lessons, not lifelong guests. And when you start understanding that, you'll be shocked how peaceful your life becomes. So when you set that table, whether it's a dinner, a dream, or a new direction, ask yourself, who claps when I win? Who stays when I'm struggling? Who brings value and who brings noise? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is change the seating chart. Not everyone deserves a seat, and not everyone can handle what you're about to serve. They thought your silence was weakness, but you were just sharpening your sword in peace. They mistook your distance for coldness, when you were only reclaiming your power. In 2025, you're not cutting people off with bitterness, you're cutting them off with boundaries, with clarity, with a calm so fierce it roars louder than revenge. Because this is not the year you prove your worth to anyone. This is the year you remember who you are without their noise, without their opinions, without their permission. Let them say you've changed. You were never meant to stay small to fit their comfort zone. You were born to evolve, to expand, to break every box they tried to put you in. Remember, these flowers don't apologize for blooming, and neither should you. You've walked through fires they couldn't even stand next to. You've rebuilt yourself from ruins they left behind. You've cried silently in bathrooms, smiled through heartbreaks, and kept going when quitting was the easier option. That alone makes you unstoppable. In 2025, your peace is luxury, your silence is gold, your time is currency, and your presence, a privilege, not a guarantee. You are no longer begging for closure. You are no longer chasing people who don't see your value. You are no longer watering dead plants and hoping they bloom. You're not the same version of you that tolerated fake apologies, dry energy, or one-sided loyalty. That girl is gone. And what's rising in her place? A queen who knows the cost of her crown. They say if they wanted to, they would. And you believed it. But here's the twist. You're the one who stopped wanting. You're the one who walked away. Not out of anger, but out of growth. Because peace is not passive, peace is powerful. It's the decision to choose yourself every single time. You're protecting your comeback season like sacred ground. You're not announcing your moves, you're just showing up different. Not louder, just clearer. Not seeking attention, just commanding respect. This is the glow up they didn't see coming, not because you changed everything, but because you finally stopped giving everything to people who gave you nothing. Sometimes, healing looks like unfollowing, like not texting back, like sitting in silence when you used to explain. That's not being petty, that's preserving energy. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some were only there for the food, not the famine. Some cheered when you fell, but smiled in your face. But your intuition? It caught it. Your spirit knew. And now, you're cleaning house not out of hate, but out of alignment. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. That's the old you. This version, she walks into rooms knowing, I'm not here to compete, I'm here to complete. She no longer asks, am I enough? Instead, she says, I've always been more than enough. You just weren't ready to receive me. That shift in language, that's the transformation, that's the rebirth. You're no longer in survival mode, you're in purpose mode. In elevation mode, in watch me build silently and glow loudly mode. You're creating, not explaining. You're manifesting, not begging. And you're realizing the people who truly love you don't need access to your pain to prove their loyalty. They give you peace even when you're silent. So let them go. The ones who ghosted you, the ones who doubted you, the ones who underestimated your comeback. Their exit wasn't your loss, it was the universe clearing space for those who match your new energy. This is your era, your rise, your redemption arc. Not because you're seeking revenge, but because you're stepping into your full power without apology. You are no longer asking the world, am I too much? You're asking, is this room even big enough for my vision? Because in 2025, you don't come to fit in. You come to take up space. You don't lower your standards, you raise your vibration. And the most unstoppable woman, she's the one who can walk away in silence and never look back. Let the world watch you in awe, wondering how you're glowing without them. The answer is simple. You remembered who you were before they made you forget.